It has not been a good week for Sony, especially with their live service push. It just seems like their entire run has mostly just been cursed. And a lot of this is sort of their own doing, with their focus being heavily skewed, it feels like, to live service, as opposed to doing what they've done best up until this generation. That, of course, being their big narrative-driven single-player titles that really show off what some of the best talent in the industry can do with their system. Well, now, multiple live service games seem to be either just in some kind of controversy, or might be to the point where it's complete chaos and might not come out. I mean, it was all over the place this week, and I wanted to go over why I think at this time, I mean, it really might be time for Sony to throw in the towel and to call it quits, specifically on their current strategy. But I want to be clear, that doesn't necessarily mean to call it quits on multiplayer altogether. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. So real quick, let's just go over some of the stuff that's happened just this week. I mean, in the last 4 days, basically. Okay, so the big thing, clearly, is right now there's a situation brewing around Marathon, which is already a game that's kind of been struggling with public perception, okay? So naturally, it being an extraction shooter, you're already losing a bunch of people just outright with that mentality of, oh, I can actually lose a lot of the stuff that I've spent time earning. And for people who necessarily don't have 20, 30 hours a week to play games, they can kind of pick and choose here and there when they can. To lose all of your progression potentially in like one match, if you have a really, really cool piece of equipment or gun, that's something they're just going to avoid because they don't want to waste time necessarily. And that's something that if you look around at a lot of the live service games, it is very quick, like very quick progression, or at least feeling like you've accomplished something every single round, okay? Fortnite does it well, Call of Duty does it well, just as examples. There's just things are happening on screen, bars are filling up, music's hitting in the background as you level up. It's just, they have it down to a science because they've done it for so long, and they've researched and seen player interaction and so on. So the extraction shooter definitely is geared more towards the, I guess, the hardcore kind of gamer. But outside of that, Marathon has something happening right now when it comes to not even just the artwork, kind of the art direction at this time, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff pop up today. There's a live stream even for Marathon that's going to be happening later on today as well, so we'll see how that goes. But they have already confirmed that an artist's work was taken and used in Marathon without their permission. Okay, they say the staff member responsible no longer works at Bungie. I don't know about this. So this isn't the first time that this has happened with Bungie when it comes to just artwork either being lifted or being extremely similar to independent artists' work. It happened, I believe, with Destiny a few times. It's like the third or fourth time I think that this has happened with Bungie. So it's a reoccurring thing. It's like, oh wow, this is weird. I've never seen this before with them. No, it's becoming kind of standard now. Anyway, this is from this VGC saying Scottish artist Fern Hook, who posts as Anti-Real. It took me a little while to put this one together with the numbers and the letters. That just shows me maybe I am getting old. On social media, posted a series of messages on X on Thursday accusing Bungie of taking assets from her previous work, using it in the newly released alpha for the game. So here's some of the work that they have pointed to and compared. And the thing with this is, of course, Marathon has a certain aesthetic to it. We're talking about just straight lifting of assets. Like, they are just matched one-to-one. I don't really know how you can dispute it at all. And again, they have not. But the thing with Marathon now is okay, so maybe you didn't like the gameplay, the extraction shooter, anything like that. Those are things that are very controversial right now online, a lot of debate around that. The thing that I would say the majority of people are more in favor of is the art style and the aesthetic of the game. Like, just the unique look to it. This puts a bit of a damper on that. There's a dark cloud that's me hanging over the aesthetic the whole time, because many of the people on the art team for Marathon at Bungie have been following this person for a while, and they've never interacted. And then you see the assets pop up, and it's like, wow, how much inspiration do they take from their profile designs that date back to 2017, but also that aesthetic? It's like, how original really is that for Bungie? Now, look, you can't necessarily say, hey, this, I guess, kind of cyberpunk looking, muted at times, but also kind of bright and colorful art style, you can't say, oh, that's my art style. Like it's copywritten, no one else can use it. No, I mean, art styles can obviously just go between different people's interpretations of it and so on. The assets matching up, the art style matching up. I mean, what else can you say at this point? It's Marathon, the live service stuff with Sony right now, Bungie. It's hit after hit after hit, as I've said before. Now, they say that they're going to, I guess, reach out and work with Anti-Real on how they can compensate or make it right. I mean, I will say at this point, Anti-Real, it's pretty clear, might be a point in time to consider the lawyering up at that. I mean, just let's be real. It's very much less about, oh, we were inspired, and more about, hey, these assets look cool, let's put them in the game. It matches up. So the other thing, though, as Marathon, of course, heading towards its release later on this year, which that's a whole thing too when it comes to the price point and can it do well. The alpha stuff apparently wasn't exactly setting the world on fire, so I don't have a lot of confidence in Marathon, is what I'll say, at least at launch. Okay. Now the other thing is that Jade Raymond has left the studio she founded. That's Haven Studios. Now Sony bought them a little more than 3 years ago now, and it was weird to me when they bought Haven Studios, because it was a new studio. Obviously, she founded it after she left Google Stadia, which, remember, Google Stadia, or Google, they started up their own internal studios. I think there were like 2 of them, maybe 3. And the idea was, we're going to make games specifically for Stadia to harness the power of the cloud. Google realized it's going to take more than a year to make a game, so they decided, nope, we're going to shut all that down. Stadia is gone as well, and that was that. And then she left Stadia to make Haven Studios. Sony comes in, buys Haven Studios, and now she's gone a few years after they were purchased. So the issue here is, of course, it's tied to Fair Games, which is another live service game that Sony is, I mean, kind of betting on at this point, right? So there are some live service games that did not make it out of the initial phase to then go show people or make some kind of trailer or announce it. Last of Us Online was kind of a special case because Neil Druckmann showed concept art when he announced it and say, hey, this is something we're working on, which we're going to come back to that in a minute. But it never got to the point of, here is an official trailer in a state of play, and we're definitely releasing this thing. Okay. That's not the case for Fair Games. So the issue that we run into here, according to Jason Schreier, PlayStation leadership didn't give Haven's staff a reason for her departure, but it came several weeks after an external test of Haven's first game, the online shooter Fair Games, according to people with knowledge of the matter. Some developers at Haven were concerned about how the game was received and its progress, said the people who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to speak publicly. So apparently what happened here is they have a playtest. The only thing I can then surmise, just putting 2 and 2 together, it didn't go well at all. Like, it wasn't good, to the point where she left. Now, look, here's the other aspect of this. I just want to throw this out there, just in the off chance this ends up being the case. There can be other non-public personal reasons why people may leave their position as, say, head of a studio or founder of the studio that could get them some things that necessarily not disclosing, or it's just, again, personal stuff. So I at least want to put that out there. However, the timeline, the series of events is being described, the fact that Fair Games has disappeared since its initial trailer, and it got crushed with just overall perception from the internet. I mean, it's like 96% dislikes on that video. And I will say, I looked at it and I said, this does look like Ubisoft, just the game itself. And the thing that was always funny was the $sign for an S. Apparently that's something they've changed. And you know, it looks better, I think, because the $sign always screamed, how do you do, fellow kids? And I think that's the thing that Sony is kind of wrestling with right now. If you look at a lot of the live service games that are successful, Fortnite, Call of Duty, especially now with Warzone, they do play into the younger demographic, kind of the meme culture, kind of the teenager sort of. And that's kind of how I looked at Fair Games. And I said, that $sign is that online internet meme culture. Let's not spell it with an S. Let's put the $sign there. And apparently they've changed it out to an S. And all I can assume is it was probably really annoying to write internally back and forth in memos. Everyone was just probably typing it out with an S anyway. So, okay, fair game $sign is, how it technically reads. So the fact that she's gone now, they have some people who are in place to continue leading the studio. I'd be shocked if Fair Games comes out. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if a few weeks from now the announcement's made, or we get word of it from Jason Schreier, who posts a report about it and then reaches out to Sony, and then they make the announcement to him through like a press release or just a response that Fair Games has been canceled. Wouldn't shock me. They were willing to cancel The Last of Us Online, even though that was more so because Naughty Dog realized it would basically engulf their entire development schedule going forward to trying to hold this game up. This just wouldn't surprise me to me, just based on the fact that it was not going well to the point where she, I guess, left after some external playtests or reviews on that one. Okay. And that's the biggest thing right now. There's been this saying that it's worth doing live service if for every 10 you do, one of them works out. I don't know if that holds up still, okay? So all we've seen now, especially with Sony, are live service cancellations or projects canceled where it felt like multiplayer is being forced in when it didn't need to be. Like this God of War multiplayer game for Bluepoint to be working on, like I don't really know what we were doing there. I understand Bluepoint probably wanted to make their own game or have their own take in a franchise that's already established. Bluepoint is clearly good at remaking games, and maybe to them it gets boring after a while, or it's like the same thing over and over again. We'd like to shake it up a bit, okay, but they're good at remakes. Like it just seems like if it's not broke, don't fix it. It was weird to me to see that. And then with Ben's studio, they were, I guess, developing some sort of live service military style shooter that also didn't pan out. And to me, it could have been a situation of, hey, this is what you're going to be doing for the next 10 years, really, if you stick with it. Look at Bungie. They are the Destiny studio. I know Marathon, Gummy Bears, that's been pulled away and put in Sony, but like they are known as Destiny. Like that's it. Okay. So here's the thing with Sony. I don't think this is going to stop. And that's the part that is, it's really getting me here is in their recent financial report, they are going to focus more on engagement and monthly active users as opposed to just sell-in units, okay? And this was shared by Lin Tao, who is the chief financial officer at Sony, saying sell-in units was the focus, but now we are focused on monthly active users or MAUs. The management is focused on engagement and MAU. This is leading to profitability. So sure, the more you can keep people on your platform, the more money you assume you can extract from them. Even if it's not from game purchases, maybe you can extract money from them by buying a battle pass, skin, whatever, right? Like you could sell things in the game to them. And that's proven really, really well for Fortnite. Like tremendous success, although apparently they also spend a lot of money to keep that success. So keep that in mind. You can report some big numbers, but then it's like, oh yeah, look at the expenses. Operating income isn't as high as you would expect then with a lot of the stuff they're doing. Still though, in order to keep monthly active users and focus less and less on sell-in units as being a big important part, they're basically saying, hey, the live service multiplayer stuff, it's not stopping. We're going to continue on despite Concord, which, I mean, reports of, I'll just say north of $300 million on that to be conservative there. They bought a studio, shut it down. That was disastrous for them. You look around and see this, you're like, how many of those situations can you have to where it evens out Helldivers 2? Because it kind of feels like we might be closing in on that if it hasn't already been there, right? Helldivers 2, tremendous success for them. I mean, there's no way to say it wasn't. It's proven to continue along with that success as well. There was a recent update that came out, and I mean, the player count spiked heavily on Steam. I can only assume same thing on the PlayStation 5. So, I mean, that seems like something that'll just continue along there, which is great. That's what they were looking for. It just took them like 10 games to get there, 10 projects. I think the biggest problem, though, at this point is that the live service games are clearly affecting their single player game output. So when you have someone like Ben Studio, who, I mean, it feels like at this point is just missing like the entire PlayStation 5 generation at this point. You have Bluepoint, who released Demon's Souls to kick off the generation, but probably won't be releasing anything again until the PlayStation 6 because, well, their God of War multiplayer game got canceled. And Naughty Dog, I mean, come on, they spend years working on this Last of Us Online game. It gets canceled. Intergalactic seems like their first PlayStation 5 game this generation that's not a remaster or a remake, and that might not be coming out until 2027. I don't know if the live service sector specifically is necessary to focus on when you can still do multiplayer in a different way. So I still believe that there are only so many hours that can be divided up for live service in the first place. And Fortnite and Call of Duty, like Warzone, Apex Legends, you could say Roblox, kind of Minecraft, they're already sucking a lot of that up, okay? So you've already lost a large piece of the pie. Now bring in Helldivers 2, the pie that's left gets a little smaller, at least that's your chunk there. But that's kind of the problem, is you're not pulling people away from a lot of these other games. They just kind of default back to them. But if you have a game that comes out that is single player focused, but then also has multiplayer attached to it, I think that's a way you can still do it without having the promise of we are going to hold this multiplayer up with battle passes and all this stuff going forward for several years. Yes, it's what we used to get a lot back in the day, and that, I think, is a better route right now for Sony because they still collect a lot of the money on things like Fortnite, on Call of Duty, right, on Apex Legends. To me, it feels like that makes more sense. So in that regard, yes, you would have gotten factions too. It would have been on The Last of Us Part 2. You would have had that, a single player, a multiplayer, and you'd still probably be able to play it now because the original factions technically is still up, right, on the PS4 version. And I still think that is the better way to go. Don't go all in on just the multiplayer side. Have your multiplayer, have your single player, it's ship in one package, and then just kind of move on from sure, you can do some fun little updates here and there. It doesn't have to be, hey, every week we're going to do something different. Hey, every month we're going to have some new collaboration. It's like the single player's there too. You buy in for that, you got the multiplayer, and sure, you can outfit it with the microtransactions because they've done it before as well back in the day, okay? I think that's the better route for them, but who knows what Sony's doing at this point when it comes to the live service stuff. The only thing I can say for certain is it's a lot more misses right now than hits, and I don't really know how it gets much better if their plans are more fair games, or let's go out and buy a studio that hasn't even shipped the game yet based on just a name that's leading it alone, because as we see, they're not necessarily going to stick around the whole time after they sell their studio and, let's face it, kind of get the golden parachute at that point and make their way out after, I'm sure, contractual obligations are filled. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Do you like the idea of Sony continuing down the live service path, or do you think it would make more sense for them to keep working on, well, I'll just say another Uncharted game that comes out, but alongside of the single player, there's also a multiplayer that's kind of like an arena shooter style thing that you have so many levels and you can kind of play over and over again with friends alongside of that narrative-driven single player experience. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.